So as I said earlier on, my name is, what is my name? Oh yeah, my name is Rob Chandler. I'm going to push there. This is a film, right? There's a reason for it to be a film, which I shall not bore you with. So I use my clicker to stop and start it, go backwards and forwards. If there are questions and you want to go see something backwards, just put your hand up or shout in the forum. It's 30 minutes. This is a 26-minute film, which I stop a lot. The last time I did it to University of Arts London, it went on for about an hour and a half. I know we've only got half an hour. So I was just trying not to waffle, which I'm already doing. So me, that's it, me. So it's interesting actually what a couple of people have said already. I've spent 3.5 years doing virtual production. So before virtual production, I was a global head of events for a large software company. Before that, I worked for Microsoft. And when the pandemic happened, the music stopped. There wasn't a particularly comfortable chair for me to sit on. So we decided to move chairs, and I sort of looked at virtual production while I was working for Salesforce and thought, oh, this is interesting. That's going to be doing stuff in the future. Oh, hold on, I was just you. Right. I won't get too panicked then. And I thought that's interesting. That's going to be a thing. It'll be a 5 or a 10-year overnight success. So from that, I've spent 10,000, 12,000 hours looking at virtual production. To Jonathan's point, there's no percentage gained by that. Absolutely not. What I was learning 3 years ago is legacy now. So, but the point of that is the fact that if you are a student and you're interested in getting into this in 3 years' time, you are going to be an expert as much as anyone else in the room, right? So just bear that in mind. So this is 10 things that you need to know about virtual production, or my view of what you need to know about virtual production, that you probably didn't know, but maybe you did. Maybe you did. Right, what's the first one? Right, it is movie thing. So what is virtual production, first of all? That's a very good question. So all born from these bad boys, really, which was Lucas. Industrial Light and Magic. And The Mandalorian is the famous one, everyone sort of knows, which is a big volume out in that America somewhere. Let me just go quickly back. And one of the main reasons was because the Mandalorian's helmet was shiny. And they had this challenge that they needed to not go into huge amounts of post-production. You know, a Star Wars film, I don't know, probably cost £500 million or dollars or something like that. And they wanted to make, I guess, 6 episodes of a Star Wars AAA production kind of thing, which is that's a lot of money if you could sort of take it through the same production process as a AAA film. But they couldn't, because they didn't have that sort of ridiculously large amount of film or time, really. So they needed to sort of work out a different way of doing it, which is to use LED walls, like with that. And you can see the guy standing in the background with a shiny helmet on, I think. They had lots of challenges with it because it was pushing the boundaries. It was pioneering technology. And then the pandemic came along and lots of people started using it. There we go, nice shiny helmet. The other type of virtual production actually is more the green screen tech, which is famously came of age, or certainly was more visual or more awareness of in the public eye when we had the pandemic and the BBC in the UK had to broadcast as if they were in Tokyo, but they weren't, they were in Manchester. So they built a very tall set, which is on the top of a high rise in Tokyo. And, you know, it looked pretty good, except those fish. I have really always had a problem with those fish because they really don't look like fish. Everything else is pretty awesome, actually. So that gives you a good idea of what sort of what that type of virtual production is as well. But there are sort of a bunch of other, there are other bunch of types as well. I think, anyway. So these are the two, certainly for filmography and broadcast. So there's a few techniques actually that don't require vast amounts of technology. One of them is a backplate or a driving plate, right? So this is a driving plate, as we see here. It's a static camera, and you could put pretty much any film on it, and I could walk across, or you could get sort of a set built here that makes me look like I'm sitting in a car, and you've got a movie playing in the background called the driving plate, and it looks like you're driving. Not only that, but you get lots of pretty reflections in shiny cars as well, which you can see. So if you're mad enough to think that your 48-hour competition requires a driving scene, or if the entire thing could be a driving scene, right, there is absolutely no reason why you couldn't do it here. The only change, you know, you might be able to get away with doing some camera movement, but you know, pretty much you could do a really cool driving scene, you know, dialogue between two people. It'd just be interesting how you get a car in here, or plane, or whatever. Another technique is this one here, which is 2.5D. Now, 2.5D, as you can see, is 2.2D planes within a 3D environment. These work really well for camera movement that is really only, it's mid ground to wide. Because you only have a small amount of camera movement. The parallax is still sort of tricking the mind that it's three-dimensional, but you don't need to move from one area, from this side of that spacecraft to the opposite to do a reverse. That's where you'd have to actually have a completely different 2.5D thing. And the third option is the really can be very complex, and is very complex version as well, which is that you decide to build an entire 3D environment. This is obviously a railway station in somewhere. This is a lot of effort, right? So let me just quickly flip back to that. Yeah, this is not a small amount of effort if you compare it with the other two, right? With driving plate, you can download it. I mean, I did the driving plate once of a video taken from the front cab of a train going through the Swiss Alps, and they just put that on there, make it look as if you're doing something. So there's ways of being able, depends on how your breakdown works, apply it to, and then apply the technology really that's required to get that shot. Try not to create a big mammoth uplift, to create just a 3D world, which you'll do one shot of, and it's a static camera. That's an awful lot of work to do. And one of the hardest things to do in BP is making the world look real. I'll come on to that in a minute, which is why horror films and sci-fi is pretty cool for. Right. Blah, 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 blah. How am I doing for time? I've done one so far, and we're probably a quarter of an hour in. Bad techniques and creative and art and all that kind of stuff. This, I will run it through, is by a guy you can find online. Look at the bottom. This is all in Unreal Engine. It's all in Unreal Engine. Now, it's absolutely exquisite and brilliant. Could you use it in real time? I doubt it very much. There's probably the rendering takes, I don't know, a day per frame or something ridiculous like that. And you can see the prog, that's the sort of giveaway for me, is the prog looks like quite mechanical. But it gives you an understanding of what you can achieve with a lot of effort put into it. This is a film we shot on a green screen. Wasn't quite live compositing. The only thing real is in here, and sorry I haven't got sort of before and after, is the bar, obviously the talent and the stalls. The back is absolutely all CGI and done in Unreal, and actually looks pretty cool. But what we've done here is that we've lent into a sort of a stylized version of the world. Wes Anderson, I think it's Wes Anderson. Sometimes say Wes Craven, which I know is wrong. So it's Wes Anderson. So it's a stylized. Now, if you apply a stylized to it, it is less likely to be to hit that sort of uncanny valley. That doesn't look quite right. Because you're using blocks of color, right, and a bit of lighting. So the green is a really easy, you know, click on green at work and apply a little bit of lighting, books. So really, really sort of stylize. That was good fun. So the other one is, don't know what happened there. The other one is really leaning into the possibilities of what you can do. And you can see here, this was all trigger based. I'll probably go back if it goes. So these circles came back. Let me just go back. These are trigger based. You can see there's some physics on some of the bits that come flying in as well. You can't really see it actually well on there. Yeah, so there's that's opportunity. So think through that creative lens that you want to try and portray, because that's a relatively simple thing to do. You know, putting in single colors, you will achieve a lot in a lot more time, and even actually using it for pre-visualization to build your story is a lot easier as well, versus trying to get absolutely the final pixel version of your CGI in Unreal or however you're going to use it. Trying to do that and then start filming, that's a big mountain. Suddenly you've squeezed your entire time to try and roll cameras on the last hour because you've done so much. So think about it, how you want to apply those things. This one here is another scene. So this is real-time composite we've used. It uses an Ultimate hardware keyer, if you ever heard it. So this is real-time in a green screen studio. I think the camera moves a little bit, but actually look at the feet. So the circle that you see is actually a real things that are on the ground, carpets. That's the word I was looking for. But actually the pink area isn't. That's a green floor, and we comp this in live, and you can see the shadows around the bottom, and you can see the cameras moving. So there's other things that you can sort of capture that you might not know to be able to capture, and just to avoid that uncanny valley as well. One of the great things about one of the promises of Unreal Engine and virtual production is that you have a control of the environment, which means that you can shoot all day long at golden hour, at blue hour, at rain, cloud, thunder, lightning, which is it's a great benefit as well. So this is a slightly technical part of this bit, is the fact that, so this is Unreal Engine, and that bit there is what the camera sees down there. And this is just flicking, you can use Unreal, so you can be really rapid with it. You don't need to build an entire new set to do nighttime. You can do it with a click of a button, right? If there are tools within Unreal that allows you to create something called a variant, and you can put the lights in to create variants, so you can sort of be pretty dynamic about how that works. And you can see it here. This is live composite again in a green screen studio. It's really awesome, even if I do say so myself. But we've flicked from daytime to afternoon time. If you look at the light, and then the next one, I believe, is nighttime. There you go. And that's literally just by the push of a button. And you could do some other things as well if you wanted to around that. So think about that, the story you're trying to tell. I'm going to let this one run just for a second. This is done again, live in a green screen studio. This is technically challenging in as much as, let me just pause it in a sec. These two gentlemen were sitting on a table, and we had a turntable underneath them. And we had 3 members of the crew slowly pulling this turntable. It was only 6 feet wide. Slowly pulling it. The turntable was connected into Unreal, and it controlled the pan of the camera of the scene. So actually, it was a remote control for the panning of the camera, which allowed you then to get this type of shot, which actually is pretty cool, even if you do say so myself. Yeah, so all of that background's live, again, live composite, and it's just a sensor within that turntable that allows you to do this. And you can sort of see actually some of the jittering isn't the Unreal environment. It's actually just people who have these handles and we're pulling these circuit things. This is my twin brother, my younger twin brother, who this is done a long time ago. This is in 4 point something, 2.7 or something like that. But the point of this is environmental change. One of the things I think that is will avoid uncanny valleyness is just to have a small amount of movement within a scene as well. So there's quite a lot of movement going on in the scene. There's some fog, I guess, or mist rising. You've got some dust particles. There's a bit of, I think there's some lens flares going on as well somewhere if you spot them. So you sort of get a bit of an idea of what you can do just to make it look slightly different. You can put wind in to move the trees. This is just literally rapidly changing something in the set to make it more in line with what you're trying to do. We were doing something around sort of fashion on this, and obviously trying to tie in the wardrobe with an asset within the scene as well. Very, very rapid. These were all done in Dali, I think, something like that. But it means that you can contextualize sometimes really, really rapidly as well. So you don't have to build completely new sets. So that's another sort of thing to sort of think about that you can apply. This one, we'll let it run. So this is what I was talking about a bit earlier on, about just doing something really subtly. If we didn't have those two flashing orange lights over there, it could just be a static thing, a picture, which is an option, absolutely. But just by doing the subtlest of movement within that background image, and this was a 3D image, so you could even move the camera if you wanted to, means that it's sort of the old reptilian brains kicking in and going, oh, actually, it's not, they are somewhere, a bit about agility that you can do versus kind of stuff that you can't. Oh, hello. I've got to try and remember what this is. Oh yeah, so this, I know what this is. Oh yeah, this is a real-time short of how long it actually physically takes to go from one scene to another, right? So it can be a nightmare running project if someone turns up on the day of filming with a thumb drive. If it is fully tested, it will be pretty rapid, and you will always be waiting for hair and makeup, the DOP to do lighting, the director to get his camera shot blocks in as well. Because if it's been optimized, if you understand what you're shooting, and you've run it, you've installed whatever plugins or the programs that you need to use, this is how that's how long it takes. That is real time to go from one scene to another. Yeah, so it's not just about lighting, where you can click lighting scenarios on and off. That is now live down in that bottom right corner. So yeah, that's literally how it can be done. But you have to test it. You have to test it fully. It's pretty cool, right? What's the next one? How am I doing for time? 7 minutes. Oh man, I've got about an hour's worth of content to do with. This was done in real-time green screen, handheld camera as well. This was a proof of concept to do whether or not you could do comedy multicam as well. So it was only recorded once, but we had 2 cameras on the talent to be able to capture as much as possible. That's one of the flexibilities you have with green screen. You can do multicam with LED, it's a bit more challenging, but you can get a lot out of green screen, especially if you've got somebody who really knows how to do live kids. That was all done live. That was live composite. Flexibility side of things. This is Karim, my one of the crew. So he went out, and this is a bit janky, but it gives you a bit of an idea of what you can do. So he went to film a field somewhere miles away, and put a green screen outside his window because you can actually see the bricks up here, right? And you put a green screen up and then played that into the Unreal scene as an AR, which allows you to then do, you know, you might find the perfect venue, but it has, I don't know, something pretty ugly out the window. It allows you to do that in camera, yeah, as well. It's pretty cool. This is a proof of concept. This guy here is a guy called Sean Keaveney. But this is actually, again, this uncanny valleyness of putting the subtleties of some of the tools that you have within Unreal Engine to good use. So that's a meta-human on that in the scene, and they're just slightly moving rather than being just a static. And someone walking outside, it just gives that level of sort of believability that you might not necessarily have if it's just a static picture. So having, you know, birds flying about, an aeroplane flying, someone sitting in the corner just moving his elbow, your brain will pick up on it, and your viewers' brains will pick up on it, even if you don't think, you don't have to have people walking around. You don't have to have meta-humans doing a dance or anything like that kind of thing. Shot type. What was this one about? Oh, I know what this one was about. I'm gonna go over this one because somebody else is speaking to this bit. Oh yeah, so this one's quite cool. Let me go back. Blah, 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 blah. That's someone being thrown around. Opening sequences. You don't have to have a human in, and you don't have to, you know, for establishing shots, do necessarily virtual production. Part of the process of building your environment is the fact that you've built the environment, and you can use it for something like an establishing shot. You know, you've done this. Oh, we're going to be in there. The rest of the action takes place inside of the cabin, right? There's no human, and it's a lot easier to do this kind of shot. And as you can see, it's a pretty spectacular shot, right? And I don't think it took Mr. Kelly too long. This one is pretty simple, and it just shows you the power of DP. This is just literally pulling focus. So if you wanted to put the drama in between two talents, two actors, and the background, there's something in the background, you can do that. It's a little bit harder with an LED wall because you have to, there's some mechanics that you have to do it. This is green screen, and this is final composite as well. So it does allow you to do this kind of drama. I'm going to reverse. I haven't got a reverse to show you, but you can imagine to do a reverse, all you need to do is turn the entire Unreal set 180, not 360, and then get the talent to do exactly the same thing. And you don't even move the camera to do that. This is me and my incredibly poor handheld. And it probably isn't quite as synchronized as it could have been, but it does sort of show you the extremes of a bad camera operator like myself and what they can achieve, if you can call that an achievement. But you get the idea. It doesn't have to be locked off. It doesn't have to be a slow track. You can do something slightly dynamic with it as well. A similar one here. This is slightly different. This is all post-composite as well. This is from Red Robin Films. They did a short. And actually, this is really interesting. They wrote this, I think, a week before the shoot. They did a day of shoot, and they did a couple of days of edit, I think. So this is sort of in the realms of what the competition is sort of talking about. Single camera, one scene, one actor, keeping it simple. Depth of field is one thing, actually, is your friend, which probably doesn't talk about too much. Depth of field can be absolutely your friend. Everything can be soft. Make everything soft. Then you don't have to go in and create Coke cans that look like Coke cans just in case someone zooms into them. These are just sort of shapes. There's been an establishing shot, but the rest of it's pretty soft. So lean into that that ability to have a short depth of film, short depth of frame, short depth, no, yeah, that thing. The thing I'm trying to say. Filmmakers will know what I'm talking about, right? Live compositing. So this is, this is, I think you saw the video a bit earlier on, the green screen. And this allows this sort of previs, right? So that's on set. So someone, the actors, the DOP, the directors can all see what is going to happen on set rather than trying to imagine it. And it's amazing to see the camera op actually looking across at the camera, and you can feed it into the camera as well. It's instant the way that everyone will start looking at monitors in order to be able to see what's going on. Very quickly, this is location scouting using VR headsets as well. So you can sort of pre-build, or you can buy assets off of the marketplace and use them. I would really, really, if you're going to do Unreal Engine, really try and find something that looks something similar to what you're trying to achieve. Reason being is that actually you can make a school corridor look like a hospital corridor pretty rapidly. This is my poor long-standing intern who we turned into Keanu Reeves using some deep fake. You can use that technology. Pretty easy. Wouldn't necessarily recommend it, but it's a tool that you can sort of you can actually use as well. I'm aware of the time. Oh, all the time. I've got so much. I've got so much to show. All right then. Well, I'll just show this last one. Actually, I think this might be it. Again, my long-standing intern controlling another 4 metahumans. If you've got the kit, it's a really good, fun way of doing some stuff. Let me just show you some stuff. This was actually a master's from Greenwich University. I think this guy was doing so similar. It's pretty good. So mixing live, and so choosing when to mix live with real time, with the virtual production as well. He could shoot everything else easily, right? It's because he's got location stat, but he wanted to shoot on Mars. So guess what? That's how you shoot on Mars, is to go VT. I think that might be that. Yeah, I think so. I suppose that. Any questions? Go on. Yeah, cool. So the question was, and I'll see if I can get that right. Can I think of any other sources of 3D modeling to create virtual production? Or any material? Really interesting question. I mean, there are marketplaces that is relatively easy just to buy stuff, and then 3D modeling as well. It's really, really time consuming to build something. I mean, it really, really is. I would, for a 24-hour competition, finding assets. You can scan an asset as well. I've got a video that I haven't introduced into that, but something called Gaussian splatting. You can do point cloud scanning. You can do loads and loads of things. So your location scanning, it's not just a 2D plate. Look it up. It's pretty amazing what they've just come along in the last 3 months, where you can do that. You can then import that mesh into Unreal Engine, and you can physically move the camera around a scan, which is pretty awesome. And they've just actually come out with a new thing where you can paint out articles, highlight meshes, and move items around within it. It's pretty nuts. But again, if you're trying to do a 48-hour competition, don't get too rabbit-holed down the use of tech versus actually what really you need to do is tell an awesome story as well. Does that sort of answer your question? Ish. I mean, it's like backplates and things like that. If you wanted a particular backplate, you can get your video cameras, stick it on a car and drive down the road, and you've got a driving plate if you want something specific for sure. There is. Go on. Yes. Yeah. So I'd say if you're an indie doing it absolutely on the cheap, as it were, um, if you can, this screen is okay. Yes, you're gonna have a moray problem, so you're gonna have to try and work out where to place the talent. And you might end up having to build a stage slightly forward. But in my head, you can tell a story a lot with close-ups and ultra close-ups. Right, you don't need huge amounts wide, and that's where exponentially it gets more time-consuming and costly, and might start to dip into the uncanny valley if it doesn't look quite right. A locked-off camera is a lot cheaper than a motion, a motion tracked camera. Now, can you tell your story and get what you really want the audience to feel with that? Yes or no? If it's no, can you then, if the resources there are available, then you can go to handheld or track. Can you hack it so you can have a 2.5T and a camera track? Yeah, you might be able to do that, for sure. I think for indies, being able to use something like a really simple green screen or a very simple LED to tell that story using really simple shots. It's the strength of the storyline, bottom line. These are just tools that will help create environments that can tell that story. If you do want to shoot on Mars, it's quite easy to shoot on Mars. If you want to shoot in a dungeon, it's quite easy to shoot in a dungeon. It's a lot harder to find Mars in the real world, or a dungeon in the real world, and light it effectively. One of the great things about virtual reduction is that you're in a controlled environment where you can control everything: sound, audio, camera position, and lighting. If you're trying to shoot in the bathroom of a Paris apartment, which tends to be really small, you can do that, but you've got to try and get the 15 crew or how many, operating effectively, versus this is completely controlled. Audio, 15 people here quite happily. They come in every day. They know where they're going. There's no disruption. There are no permits required. And there isn't sort of a wall in the way. That's the beauty of it, really. So the question was, do I know if I used any generative AI tools to create 3D assets that we've been able to use, right? So I haven't been able to show you the video that I was we did on Saturday, but Gaussian splatting uses generative AI, and it is okay. I mean, I'd say it's a very good previs tool. So you could scan this, and then you could shoot anywhere in the world, anywhere, because you just send the file to somewhere in the world, and then they could use it as a previs tool. So it's really good. Other than that, the way that we use AI is really in the process. It's a bit like using Office, Microsoft Office, to help with the production of a film or of a video. It really helps with that kind of stuff. You can ask it to do camera block, camera breakdown, shot blocks, and all sorts of things that you can ask it to do, which will go off and it'll give you a really good kickstart of where you want to end up going. Like you can, plug in your script and say, I need to take this down to 5 minutes because it's 30 at a minute, and it'll give you a good idea. It'll give you a bit of a line. So I think it'll be interesting how that starts to develop on using generative AI and the way we can use it in video. But in I don't know, my hypothesis that it's going to be like the next generation of Microsoft stuff, from typewriters to using word processors, kind of jump, rather than suddenly everyone being out of work and it's just we push a button and the next Marvel film comes out.